Good day to all my dear students. Welcome back to social science class. In the previous class, we had discussed the chapter economics. So let us have the recap. You learnt the meaning of economics, basic concepts of economics, origin of the word economics, and importance of studying of economics. Hope you remember. So in today's class, let's learn about economic activities, micro and macroeconomics. Most of the goods and services that we use every day are limited in supply and hence are not available free of cost. These goods and services are called economic goods and services. So children, the goods and services that we use every day are limited in supply. Hence, they are not available free of cost. So, the goods which we use and the services are called economic goods and services. We use our skills and labor to earn money and satisfy our wants by using that money. So, the varied activities which we perform in order to earn money and wealth for satisfaction of our wants are called economic activities. So, what are economic activities? The varied activities in the sense, number of activities which we perform in order to earn money and wealth for satisfaction of our wants are called economic activities. So here in this picture you can see economic activity and non-economic activity. Example for economic activity: chef cooking in a restaurant. So when a chef cooks in a restaurant, he will be given payment for cooking, whereas a mother, when she cooks to her family members at home, she is not paid. So this is an example for non-economic activity. There are four kinds of economic activities: production, consumption, exchange, and distribution. So what is production? Production activities are those that produce goods and services. Okay, in production we see the activities of producing goods and services. For example, agriculture, animal husbandry, fishing, mining, forest development, different kinds of industries, transport, communication, etc. Services like teaching, medical checkups, car repair, mail, delivery, etc. Then consumption. What is consumption? Goods and services are produced for consumption. We use several goods and services in order to satisfy our needs and wants, and this is called as consumption. Man satisfies his wants by buying goods and services. All these activities are known as consumption activities. Exchange. The producers produce goods for the consumers. There is a marketing system to supply the produced goods to the consumers. In this system, activities of collection of goods, transportation, selling, and buying take place. So, the producers who produce goods for the consumers, and there is a marketing system. Okay, in this exchange we see the marketing system in order to supply the produced goods to the consumers for their use. So here we see the activities of collection of goods, transportation, selling, and buying take place. Next, moving to the distribution. The income that is earned through the production of goods has to be distributed to the various factors of production. For example, land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship or organization that have enabled the production, which means that have made able to produce the goods and the service. So the income that is earned through the production of goods has to be distributed to the various factors of production. Maybe it may be the land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. So this process involves activities undertaken to determine the price of the factors of production. Several steps have been taken in order to ensure that the income earned is distributed among all factors in a just manner. So, very important thing here we see steps have been taken to to make sure that the income earned is distributed. Okay, which is borrowed has to be distributed among all factors in a just manner, in a true manner. Sometimes many activities which are not economic in nature become economic activities. Sometimes many activities are there which are not economic in nature, but they become economic activities. For example, when a teacher gives free tuitions at home to students is not an economic activity, because she is not taking any money for giving tuitions. When the same teacher charges fees for giving tuitions, it becomes an economic activity. So the service which is rendered without taking any charges is called non-economic activity. So when it is charged, when the service is charged is called as an economic activity. Now moving to types of economics. There are two kinds of economics, microeconomics and macroeconomics. So what is microeconomics? The term micro has been derived from Greek word mikros, which means small. So when we see with regard to science, microorganisms, so how they look, they are very tiny, very small. So here the term micro is derived from the Greek word mikros, which means small. Microeconomics is a study of the economy at the level of the individual. Okay, it studies at the level of the individual. It also analyzes the behavior of individual household, industries, markets, labor unions, and trade associations. Macroeconomics. The word macro is derived from the Greek word meaning large. Okay, macroeconomics analyzes the behavior of the whole economic system in the totality or entirety. Microeconomics studies the behavior of large aggregates collections such as total employment, the national product or income, the general price level of the economy. So here microeconomics is also known as aggregate economics. So children, microeconomics is also known as aggregate. So it is a whole formed by combining several separate elements. So what is the difference between microeconomics and macroeconomics? Microeconomics examines small economic units, the components of the economy. For example, individuals, households, firms, industries. Whereas macroeconomics looks at aggregates. For example, national output, overall price level, aggregate unemployment. Here, microeconomics studies individual income, whereas macroeconomics studies national income. Microeconomics analyzes demand and supply of labor, whereas macro analyzes total employment in the economy. Microeconomics deals with households and firm decisions, whereas macro deals with aggregate decisions. Microeconomics studies individual prices, whereas macro studies overall price level. Microeconomics analyzes demand and supply of goods, and macroeconomics analyzes aggregate demand and aggregate supply. This is the difference between microeconomics and macroeconomics. So children, there are three basic economic problems. There are three basic economic problems. What are they? What to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce. The problems in economics arise due to scarcity of resources, which forces us to make a suitable choice. So there are problems in economics. These problems arise due to scarcity of resources, which forces us to make a suitable choice. So this is both at micro and macro levels. In this context, economics tries to provide answers to the following questions: what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce. First one, what to produce. An individual or a society has to decide about what goods and services to produce. Okay, maybe so here these three questions, the three basic problems are related to both microeconomics as well as macroeconomics. So here an individual or a society has to decide about what goods and services to produce. Okay, a particular business, a particular firm has to decide about what to produce, the goods or the service, whether to produce more of food or weapons, agricultural or industrial goods, education or health, consumer goods or machineries. So the type of quantity of various goods produced depends upon the resource availability on the one hand and the requirements of the people on the other hand. So children, what to produce has to be decided by the individual or the society, keeping in mind of the resource availability and the requirements of the people. Next one, how to produce. There are different ways to produce given goods. Different combinations of inputs and resources can be used to produce a given amount of goods or services. This is called the technology of production. So, whether to use a technology that uses more labor or capital, it is to be decided by the society. So, how to produce, whether to take very less labors in order to produce the goods or services, or to use more labor or capital, has to be decided by the society. The third one, for whom to produce. Here we see children, who will get the goods so produced and in what quantities. This is the problem of issue of distribution, such that each person should get at least a minimum quantity of goods and services for consumption, for his daily needs. For example, it may be availability of food, basic education, or primary health. So, every society has to decide the distribution of scarce resources and goods and services among all the individuals. So children, these are the basic economic problems related to micro and macro levels. So here we see COVID-19. So this is also a great economic impact to the world. The economic impact of COVID-19 pandemic in India has been largely disruptive. The outbreak of COVID-19 has impacted nations in an enormous way, especially the nationwide lockdowns, which have brought social and economic life to a standstill. A world which forever buzzed with activities has fallen silent, and all the resources have been diverted to meeting that never experienced before crisis. Due to multi-sectoral impact of the virus, the economic activities of the nation have slowed down. The chief economic advisor to the government of India said that there is economic drop and is mainly due to the coronavirus pandemic effect on the Indian economy. The pandemic has left a severe impact on Indian economy, leading to a negative growth rate for the first time in decades. Notably, India had also been witnessing a pre-pandemic slowdown, and according to the World Bank, the current pandemic has magnified pre-existing risks to India's economic outlook. Thus, the study of economics helps us to understand the current use of resources and plan for their more efficient use in the future. The economists usually advise government on these matters. As a result, the well-being of the individuals and the country can be improved. So children, I hope you have understood the chapter Introduction to Economics. Watch this video again and again to understand the concept clearly. Thank you, children.